Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another of the Fierce Force figures from Mattel to take a look at. This figure, again, was sent to me thanks to my good buddy Greg from Dino Scream, who was able to pick this up and, send it my way. As the figures are usually really hard to find in my area, so I most oftentimes have to reach out to other people to acquire them, pay them, and have them ship them my way, because actually buying them in store seems to be almost an impossibility most times. But again, this time we have the Gallimimus, which is a really cool looking greenish version of the Gallimimus. A nicer looking figure than I actually expected it to be, similar to the Velociraptor, where I was, really underwhelmed with it initially, but actually having it here in hand, I was a bit happier with it than I was expecting to be, and I think that's another one of those moments here with this Gallimimus. And yet again, just like with the Raptor, I'm really excited to see that there is actually some extra paintwork there out onto the tail, so that is definitely pretty fun. And I do believe this is the Legacy Gallimimus now making another appearance in the line, which is a really nice looking sculpt. Really happy to see this one make another appearance here. But as far as the box art, again, it's just your Dino Escape standard Camp Cretaceous style box art. And then here on the back, like always, we have kind of like a sneak peek here showing off the action feature, which is definitely different from the previous action features of the Gallimimus, as well as an image down here showing some of the other Fierce Force figures in the line. So let's break this out of its box and take a look at it. So here is my Gallimimus with its legs kind of in an awkward position, but there we go. We now have the Gallimimus here standing before us, and again, pretty fun looking. Nothing amazing, nothing, just absolutely awesome that we need to run out and grab right away, although that's kind of what I did by having Greg go ahead and get a hold of it for me. But it's definitely another fun figure, and I really do quite like it. Again, the sculpt is gorgeous as far as a Jurassic Park style Gallimimus goes. Like, the sculpt is just spot on. So let's go ahead, get a closer look, and find out just what's new about this one over the previous figures. So again, the sculpt, I believe, is just the exact same sculpt as the Legacy Collection Gallimimus, so we really don't need to take a look at the sculpt or anything like that. We really need to just focus on what's new, and that would primarily be, at this point, what we can check out would be the paintwork of the figure over the previous versions. So straight away up here at the face, we have a nice greenish coloration for the majority of the body of the Gallimimus, but you can see a really nicely painted eye here with a yellow coloration. The eye does actually have a black pupil, which I love. I absolutely love when Mattel gives them the black pupils, because I feel like it just makes the figure look so much nicer. Normally, Mattel, like previously anyway, not necessarily normally, but previously Mattel would usually use like this coloration here as the pupil, because it's a darker tone of color. They can get away with it. But recently, except for the Velociraptor that we recently reviewed, actually yesterday, but recently they've been including black pupils more so than that darker main body color, and I really do like that. And you can see how nice it looks here on this Gallimimus. Definitely looks a lot nicer with that black pupil. As we move down into the body, the neck stays that greenish coloration until we reach like the shoulder blade area, and then you can see this darker brown pickup, and that pretty much litters the entire back up until we get to the hip region, and then it transitions to more of like a striping sort of an effect over the top of the hip. And you can also see that it kind of leaks down and runs down all throughout the side of the Gallimimus, giving it more of that brownish coloration before it transitions back to the green. You can also see there's like a light green that kind of stripes through the thigh region of the Gallimimus, which is interesting. Again, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but I do appreciate some color variation throughout the figure, so it does look nice, even though it's not the most appealing looking thing in the world. Definitely not the nicest paint scheme Mattel has released, but it is, decent to have a little extra color variation. We don't actually have any color variation here on the underside, which is kind of shocking. I would have expected maybe like some sort of a light underbelly or something, but no dice as far as that goes. We also do not have nail paint on the hands, nor do we have that on the feet, so that is another thing that's a bit of a downside as far as the figure goes, but we can see that that darker brown actually does run out the length of the tail, so that is really, really awesome. Not the entire length, as it cuts off right about here, and you can see the rest is just that greenish coloration, but it is super awesome that we do have any extra color variation out onto the tail, because more often than not, Mattel tends to skip that area. Other than that, the only other thing that we really have is, of course, like some of those trademark Mattel speckles, which you can kind of see here and there is like a light green. Like, it picks up, like you can see it right down here in the leg, but there's honestly not too much of it. It's not quite as abundant as what you often see on Mattel figures, but it's definitely there. And there is the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add this to your collection. But it's definitely a pretty fun Gallimimus. Nothing, absolutely awesome or groundbreaking, but still a pretty fun variant of the Legacy Collection Gallimimus. As far as articulation and the action feature goes, we do have articulation in the neck like we usually do with Gallimimus. We also have articulation in the arms, forward and back, and out away from the body as well. Of course, they can go up really high if you choose to. And then you also have articulation in the legs, which can move quite nicely, of course, both legs. And then you do have a swivel tail. That's really about it as far as the articulation goes on the Gallimimus. But as far as the action feature goes, we do have this button on the back here, which clearly kind of gives the Gallimimus almost a pecking sort of a look as far as the action feature goes. Again, there's not too much you can really do as far as a Gallimimus goes. For a gimmick, you really can't do much, and we have already had kind of like a running feature with the Gallimimus in the past, so it's nice for them to switch it up, give us something new. Even though it's not the greatest thing in the world, it's still at least fresh and new sort of, and different than previous releases, so I do actually still quite like that. As far as the size goes, the figure is exactly the same size as the previous Gallimimus from the Legacy Collection. You can see it's about 6 3/4 inches or about 17 centimeters in length, and the highest point would be the head, and it's just shy of 4 inches or 10 centimeters, so basically right around the 9.5 centimeter mark, or right around 3 3/4 inches, maybe a little bit over. For a size comparison, here are our usual review comparison suspects, as we have Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Gallimimus, showing you that it's definitely right around the same size as all of the previous Gallimimus releases. Nothing new and crazy as far as a size goes. So this is another really fun release from Mattel. Nothing super awesome. Nothing, again, that I feel like anybody needs to jump up and just search out relentlessly. But if you are a fan of the Gallimimus from Mattel, it's definitely a fun figure to pick up. I will say that I, without question, like the Legacy version better as far as like the paintwork and everything. It was just so much nicer on that figure over this one. And for the most part, it's not really all that appealing as far as the figure goes. It's kind of just like a really dark, almost generic looking paint scheme for the Gallimimus, but it's at least, something fun, another fun repaint. And if you're not into repaints, you don't have to go pick it up. If you are like me, then it's still a pretty fun figure to pick up, and it's nice to see, again, the Legacy Collection Sculpt make another appearance, as it's been quite some time since that figure had released. The Sculpt, again, is really pretty much spot on as far as a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World style Gallimimus goes. Of course, with your standard inaccuracies as far as Mattel goes, like larger feet and stuff. That's just, a given at this point. The paintwork is pretty fun, but nothing amazing. Again, it's just some browns and some greens, and there's really nothing super flashy or amazing about it. The best part about the paint application is the fact that we do have paint that runs out onto the tail. So that is definitely good news as far as that goes. Really amps up the appeal factor, but the paint scheme, in my opinion, just isn't really flashy enough to give it a gigantic appeal factor. It's just, something nice to take note of. The action feature as well isn't anything groundbreaking or amazing, but it is different from the previous release, so it is nice to have something a little different. I'm glad they didn't just totally repaint the figure and have it still with the exact same gimmick as the previous version. Definitely gave us something new, even though it's not incredible or anything by any means. So is the figure a must-have? Definitely not. But is it a fun release from Mattel? Yeah, sure, it's pretty cool. So if you are interested in this, make sure you head to your local Target or Walmart, as it should be showing up in both of those areas. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.